The Galactic Council convenes, a grand assembly of diverse, alien species hailing from every corner of the universe, each uniquely adapted to their own harsh worlds. Their colors, textures, and sizes vary wildly, a collection of beings hardened by eons of struggle on planets hostile to life itself. Yet, for all their fearsome appearances, they sit relaxed, whispering in low, rumbling tones, almost amused. One conversation dominates the council chambers today: Earth, the new, death world, admitted to the consortium. Most of the aliens eye humanity's representatives with curiosity, as if studying a peculiar anomaly. Unlike most Deathworlders, humans look harmless. Some council members chuckle softly as they exchange impressions of the peculiar species. Deathworld? Really? Murmurs a Malcrathian, whose iridescent skin shifts as he squints at the humans. His world is an unyielding inferno, where survival means embracing constant heat and violent storms. They seem restrained. Indeed, agrees a towering Voltach with spiny, crystalline skin. They're unusually cooperative. It's strange for Deathworlders to be so soft. The aliens don't hide their bemusement. For them, the concept of a Deathworlder encompasses not only the endurance of a brutal homeworld but a merciless, often predatory nature. By comparison, humans appear almost gentle. Into this space walks Commander Elisa Grant, Earth's chosen representative. She's poised, her movements measured, and her face calm. The council watches as she takes her place. Elisa stands tall and firm, her bearing that of someone who has experienced both hardship and discipline. She wears a diplomatic expression, her eyes carrying a steady calmness, as if assessing the room. An alien from the Krellin, a race notorious for their ruthless tactics and quick temper, speaks up with a sly smile. Commander Grant, perhaps you could explain how humans survive your so-called death world. From what we've seen, it's almost quaint. Forests, oceans, breathable air. Not exactly the harshest we've come across. The council laughs, a low rumble of mirth rippling through the room. Elisa doesn't flinch, though the flicker in her eyes suggests a restrained response. The corners of her mouth curl slightly as she responds, diplomatic but firm. Appearances can be deceiving, she replies evenly. Humanity's strength may lie in our adaptability, our creativity in facing adversity. Her words are met with more murmurs, some curious, others skeptical. A serpentine-looking diplomat from the Zivary rolls his eyes. Adaptability? Creativity? Deathworlders tend to be direct, brute strength and viciousness. Not much room for adaptability in a death world. Another alien, a squat, insect-like being from the Ferran system, clicks its mandibles, adding, "Yes, but humans keep appealing to reason and peace, which is unusual. Quite civilized. Almost tame." Elisa's calm expression never wavers, but her thoughts betray the restraint she's carefully maintaining. She thinks back on humanity's history, the relentless conflicts, the scrambles for survival in eras of famine, disease, and war. She knows these alien species cannot truly understand. They see humanity as peace-loving, as if kindness and empathy are signs of weakness, not choices made in spite of a dark history. Her inner monologue is a steady reminder to herself, stay calm, Grant. The last thing they need to see right now is exactly what they're underestimating, The conversation shifts, moving from the Council's disdain for Earth's seemingly gentle ways to outright amusement. As the representatives exchange stories about their own violent homelands, Earth becomes the punchline. A being with a jagged exoskeleton, a Rusian, leans forward, eyes narrowed in condescension. "Maybe your death world label is a clerical error, Commander. Or do humans merely hide behind a mask, hoping to pass as something they're not?" Elisa allows herself a small, calculated smile. She doesn't rise to the bait, and her reply is careful, almost cryptic. "As I said, appearances can be deceiving. Humans value diplomacy, but we've learned to adapt to more than just words when necessary." The remark falls flat among her audience, who missed the layered warning. Most aliens are still unconvinced, seeing her as yet another example of human softness. Elisa feels the simmering urge to remind them of humanity's darker history, of the horrors Earth has endured, often by human hands alone. But she tamps it down. Now isn't the time. Instead, she observes them with a quiet, knowing patience. They talk about humans as if they were lesser, as if a lack of obvious aggression equals weakness. These council members, each proud and battle-worn, failed to notice the barely contained storm behind her calm demeanor. Elisa's mind drifts to Earth's long legacy of survival, memories of ancient warriors, relentless explorers, and societies that clawed their way up from nothing. She recalls the fierce loyalty humanity holds for its own and the lengths humans will go to protect what they cherish. Her expression remains neutral, but a fire simmers behind her gaze, a fire few have seen, and fewer still have survived. In this moment, Elisa realizes just how deeply the Council misunderstands humanity, a realization that sends a chill through her. The Council members think that peace-loving means pacifist, that diplomacy equals weakness. But they are wrong. Every human sitting here is keeping a part of themselves hidden, biding time, waiting. They know that underestimating a Deathworlder has been the downfall of many, yet here they are, oblivious. As the Council wraps up, still chuckling over Earth's admittance, Elisa reflects on her role. They're mocking humanity now, but they don't see what lies just beneath the surface, waiting. Her patience, like the patience of every human here, is not infinite. One day, she thinks, they'll understand exactly what humanity is capable of. But for now, let them laugh. As the meeting adjourns, the other council members file out, leaving Elisa standing alone. She remains calm, watching their backs as they go, each unaware of the force they are misjudging. The council session is in full swing, debates echoing across the chamber when a sudden, deafening explosion rips through the air. Lights flicker, casting erratic shadows, as dust rains down from the shattered ceiling. Chaos erupts in an instant. From every corner, heavily armed alien mercenaries burst into the room, a fearsome coalition of rival species all bearing weapons trained on the council members. Their voices cut through the uproar, harsh and commanding. "Intergalactic Peace Consortium, your reign is over," one of them shouts, flanked by his armed squad. The demand for surrender is immediate, reinforced by the hum of high-powered weapons. The council members react in a storm of fear and confusion. Leaders of various races duck behind their seats, some fumbling for cover, others shouting desperate pleas. A few reach into their robes or armor for small, hidden weapons, but their hands shake, betraying their lack of preparation. Others try to negotiate, shouting promises of resources, information, anything that might placate their attackers. For all their strength and resilience on their own worlds, they look frail here, exposed in the face of this sudden violence. In the midst of the turmoil, Commander Elisa Grant remains calm. She sits unmoving, her gaze steady on the mercenaries. Her mind is sharp, taking in every detail of their movements, analyzing their positions and the layout of the room. The surrounding chaos only sharpens her focus. She watches as alien representatives scramble and beg, their composure shattered. A flicker of dark satisfaction passes through her, an acknowledgement of how easily the council members fall to pieces under real pressure. Her inner voice, cold and clear, assesses the scene. So this is what they call strength. No discipline, no order. All bluster until the moment they're truly tested. Grant's calm presence starts to draw the attention of those around her. One alien, a Krellin, catches sight of her expression and pauses, confusion flickering across his face. Why is this human woman not hiding? Why isn't she pleading for her life like the rest? In a single, controlled motion, Grant raises a hand and signals to the human delegation scattered among the panicked crowd. It's a subtle gesture, invisible to anyone who isn't watching closely, but every human present catches it. There's a quiet shift among the humans, each one bracing, a silent understanding passing between them. They've been holding back, adhering to diplomatic protocols, but in this moment, with lives on the line, that restraint melts away. It's time to act. Grant rises from her seat, her movements slow and deliberate. One of the mercenaries notices her, weapon trained on her instantly, and sneers. "Stay where you are, human! You may be a council representative, But that won't protect you. She meets his gaze without fear, her voice calm but carrying an edge that stops him cold. You may want to rethink your approach, she says, her words measured, almost taunting. A subtle unease ripples through the mercenary ranks. They had expected panic, please, anything but this cold defiance. Grant's unsettling calm has caught them off guard, and it starts to dawn on them that they may have miscalculated. Another council member, a Voltach with crystalline skin, watches her with dawning realization. He's seen humans only in diplomatic settings, always courteous, cooperative. But here, her demeanor is something else entirely, an eerie calm that feels deeply out of place. Around her, the human delegation begins to move. Each of them shifts into position, using the chaos to their advantage, their actions unhurried and precise. A human engineer quietly disables a nearby mercenary with a well-timed strike, while another human repurposes a fragment of broken council equipment into a weapon. The council members watch in astonishment as the humans, previously overlooked and underestimated, begin to mount an organized, efficient counteroffensive. One mercenary finally realizes the mistake they've made, panic creeping into his voice. These are Deathworlders, he hisses to his comrades, backing away as Grant's steady gaze locks onto him. The term, so lightly applied before, now takes on a chilling significance as the humans' true capabilities become clear. The mercenaries falter, their initial bravado slipping as they encounter resistance they hadn't anticipated. They regroup, attempting to turn the tide, but it's too late. Grant has already assessed their weaknesses, reading their fear and confusion like an open book. She moves with purpose, leading the humans in a coordinated assault, their actions a seamless blend of strategy and ruthlessness. One by one, the mercenaries fall, each human striking with an efficiency that leaves no room for error. Their calm, controlled brutality is a stark contrast to the desperate, scattered tactics of the aliens around them. The council members watch, stunned, as the humans dispatch their attackers with an ease that borders on terrifying. The realization dawns slowly, a heavy weight settling over them. The humans had been holding back all along. For the first time, the council members see what lies beneath humanity's cooperative facade: the adaptability, the precision, and the ruthlessness. As the last of the mercenaries fall, Grant stands amidst the aftermath, her gaze as steady as ever. She surveys the room, taking in the wide-eyed council members who had once seen her as harmless, even quaint. Now they regard her with a mixture of awe and fear, finally understanding the truth. The humans are not weak, not soft. They have merely chosen to keep their power hidden, until now. With the initial chaos subsiding, Commander Elisa Grant steps forward, her calm facade melting into something colder, sharper. Her gaze cuts across the room, assessing the positions of the remaining mercenaries, noting every detail with ruthless precision. The time for diplomacy has passed. Without hesitation, she gives the signal, and the human delegation springs into action, transforming from passive council representatives into a formidable combat unit. Their movements are fluid, precise, each one of them striking with deadly accuracy. There's no waste, no hesitation. They know exactly where to hit and how hard. Grant leads the charge, her mind a razor-sharp focus of strategy and calculation. She grabs a piece of shattered council furniture, swinging it with practiced force, converting it into a weapon that bludgeons an attacker to the ground. Around her, the humans adapt with startling ingenuity, picking up broken pieces of alien tech and repurposing them as weapons, using their surroundings as extensions of themselves. An overturned council desk becomes a barricade, alien communication devices are turned into makeshift blasters. Where most would see debris, they see opportunity. Watching the humans in action, the alien council members are transfixed. They had seen Earth as a paradox, hardly a death world, with its lush forests, calm seas, and breathable air. Yet here were its people, revealing a side that could only have been shaped by a planet of constant struggle. They begin to understand that Earth's death world title isn't just about the environment, it's about the humans' brutal resilience, their ability to adapt and fight in the face of any threat. One council member, a battle-hardened Zivary warrior, watches in horrified awe. These humans, who had previously seemed so reasonable, now operate with a precision that is terrifying. Every strike, every maneuver, is aimed to neutralize, not just defend. There's no hesitation, no fear, only the cold, relentless efficiency of a species that has been hiding its true nature. Grant's voice is sharp and commanding, directing her team with barely a word, each one responding instantly to her gestures and signals. She's no longer the composed diplomat they saw earlier. She is now the epitome of a Deathworlder, her movements exuding a raw, calculated ferocity that sends chills through her alien peers. For her, diplomacy is a mask she wears, but this is her true nature. As the humans push forward, the council members begin to realize the deep irony in their own perceptions. The Krellin diplomat, who had mocked humanity's softness, watches as Grant takes down an enemy twice her size with a single, devastating strike. He'd assumed humans were weak, that their calls for peace were a sign of submission. Now, he sees that peace was merely a choice, and when forced into a corner, humans abandon it without a second thought. The mercenaries who dared to attack the council are now on the defensive, unable to predict or match the humans' unrelenting assault. What they had perceived as a divided, soft-spoken delegation has become an unstoppable force, working in seamless unison. Humans are not just skilled fighters. They are terrifyingly adaptable, each one adjusting their tactics to counter their enemy's every move. It's as if they can predict their opponent's reactions before they happen, moving with an almost predatory intelligence. In the midst of the battle, Grant's thoughts flash briefly to the years of restraint, the training in diplomacy, and holding back her species' instincts. For too long, humanity has kept this side hidden, presenting a palatable version of themselves to the galaxy. But in this moment, there is no need to hold back. She lets herself embrace the fierce, survival-driven nature that has always been part of her. An alien council member gasps as he sees one human take a hit, only to rise again with a grim determination, as though pain is merely an inconvenience. Another mercenary is taken down with a swift, brutal efficiency, leaving no room for mercy. Grant's team moves forward, driven by a relentless energy that feels alien to everyone else in the room. They fight with unity and purpose, each one seamlessly covering for the other, every blow an answer to the threat against them. The last of the mercenaries realize their mistake too late. Their plan to intimidate the council has backfired spectacularly, leaving them on the losing end of a battle they can no longer control. Cornered, they try to regroup, but the humans have already boxed them in, closing off every escape route, anticipating every desperate maneuver. With a final push, Grant leads her team in a coordinated strike, a decisive end to the skirmish. Her opponents fall, one by one, each taken down with the brutal efficiency of a species that knows exactly what it takes to survive. The humans, who had been underestimated and dismissed as peaceful diplomats, stand victorious, their true capabilities now undeniable. Silence falls over the council chamber, broken only by the sounds of the humans catching their breath, checking each other for injuries, regrouping with quiet, focused purpose. The alien council members stare, their expressions a mix of shock and awe, as they absorb the brutal display of skill they've just witnessed. For the first time, they grasp what it means for humans to come from a death world, not just a planet that's harsh, but one that has bred a species capable of unparalleled resilience and savagery when provoked. Grant stands amidst the aftermath, meeting the eyes of her stunned colleagues. The message is clear, unspoken yet unmistakable. Humanity is not to be underestimated. The council chamber fell into a strained silence as the last echoes of the battle faded from memory. Alien leaders, their skin pale, scales twitching, eyes wide, remained locked in their seats. The human contingent, too, stood motionless, unreadable in the aftermath of the conflict. Grant, the human representative, had returned to her seat, her expression as tranquil as if she just concluded a routine meeting. Yet the stark contrast between her calm demeanor and the violence they'd all witnessed lingered heavily in the air. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Nervous voices rose and fell as council members exchanged glances, each species turning to its neighbor, trying to make sense of the chaos that had been unleashed. Representatives who had once scoffed at humanity's simplicity now looked upon them with wide eyes, a sense of disquiet settling in their cores. Only days earlier, they'd dismissed humans as little more than naive idealists who prized peace above all else. Now, that perspective seemed not only naive but downright foolish. "I had no idea they were capable of such precision," muttered an elder council member, his antennae twitching. "How could we have overlooked this?" Another counselor, draped in flowing robes of a metallic sheen, spoke up with a tremor in her voice. "Their efficiency, it was unsettling. They fought without hesitation, like they'd been planning this all along." Grant's gaze swept over them, her eyes steady and unreadable. She remained still, a silent observer to the shifting tides of emotion around her. This was humanity laid bare, a glimpse at the side of them they usually kept tucked away. Now the council had seen it firsthand, and the reality of humanity's potential hung over them all, an indelible impression that couldn't be ignored or excused. The speaker of the council, an aged alien with wrinkled, silver-toned skin, cleared his throat and rose. "We came here to understand humanity, to weigh their place in our consortium. But tell me, Grant, was this display meant as a threat? Are we to take this as an ultimatum?" Grant leaned forward, her voice low and calm. "A threat? No, Speaker. That was a response, a measured one at that. Humans, as you now understand, are not immune to aggression. But we temper it, control it. Violence is not our first choice, but when pushed..." She let the sentence hang in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. "This was but a glimpse. Know that we value our role in the consortium, and we stand ready to protect our allies. We only ask that respect be mutual." Silence settled again as her words took root, a quiet tension pulsing in the air. Some among the council began to see humanity in a new light, re-evaluating them as a power in their own right, not mere newcomers to be guided and managed. Whispers shifted in tone, from disbelief to guarded respect, and, for many, fear. The councilors could sense a dormant strength within humanity, not easily defined or limited. What would happen if that power were fully unleashed? It was a question none dared to ask aloud. One alien, a species known for their wariness and distrust, finally broke the silence. "If that was only a fraction of your power, how can we know you won't turn it upon us one day? How can we trust humans to remain allies rather than rivals?" Grant's expression softened, almost to a faint smile. "Trust is a two-way endeavor. Humanity has come here seeking partnership, not dominance. We adapt, we learn. But like any species, we expect to be treated as equals. As long as mutual respect endures, so will our alliance." It was a carefully crafted response, one that left room for interpretation yet firmly stated humanity's expectations. Grant's words resonated in the hall, and each counselor seemed to retreat into their own thoughts, parsing the implications. Some of those who had been most vocal in their mockery of humanity now eyed the human delegation with an unmistakable edge of caution. They understood now that the humans' restraint was not a weakness but a choice, one they had the power to revoke if needed. In the background, the tension thickened. To some, the humans were a potential bulwark against other, more aggressive powers within the galaxy. To others, they were now a latent threat that could destabilize the fragile peace the consortium had cultivated. Questions, doubts, and fears swirled, each counselor assessing what they had seen and what it meant for the future of the consortium. Grant observed their reaction with quiet satisfaction. Her purpose had been clear: to demonstrate humanity's resolve without resorting to threats. She had revealed enough to make their position clear, to dispel the misconceptions that had grown unchecked. Now, the Council had seen a fraction of what humanity could do, and the memory of it would linger long after this meeting concluded. For the counselors, the future suddenly felt uncertain. Humanity was unlike any species they had encountered before, a force of adaptability and strength, yet capable of terrifying restraint. If this was a sample of their capabilities, how much more could they bring to bear if the situation demanded? And would they be content to remain in the consortium as equals, or would the balance shift, perhaps dangerously, as humanity continued to expand its influence? These questions would hang over the Council in the coming days, a lingering reminder of the calculated brutality they had witnessed. Some saw humanity's actions as a wake-up call, a warning that peace could only persist if it was built upon a foundation of mutual respect. Others viewed it as a troubling omen, a signal that the consortium's future might hold more turbulence than they were prepared to face. As the meeting came to a close, council members departed in silence, their expressions somber and thoughtful. For humanity, this had been a chance to assert themselves in a galaxy that had underestimated them. And for the rest of the council, the encounter marked the beginning of a long, uneasy reckoning with the nature of their newest ally. Grant stood at the center of the council chamber, facing a room filled with solemn, thoughtful faces. The heavy silence was almost tangible, each counselor grappling with the recent revelation of humanity's dual nature. She allowed the silence to linger, knowing that words alone couldn't capture the depth of what they had witnessed. Finally, she took a breath and began. "Honorable counselors, I trust you now have a clearer understanding of humanity," she said, her voice firm but calm. "We are a species that values peace, yet we are no strangers to hardship. The complexity you see in us, the balance of our diplomacy and our capacity for force, is not a contradiction. It is our survival. It is our resilience." Her gaze held steady, meeting each counselor's eyes in turn. "The fact that we can walk both paths, the path of peace and the path of ferocity, has allowed us to endure, to adapt, and to thrive." A few counselors exchanged uneasy glances, still unsettled by the raw display of power they had witnessed. Grant continued undeterred. "Our world shaped us, made us this way. It forced us to learn when to extend a hand, and when to defend what we cherish. Do not mistake our pursuit of peace for passivity. We would rather build than destroy, but when provoked, we will respond. And that response, as you've seen, can be decisive." One council member, his scales shimmering in agitation, raised a question. "But what of the risks? Can we truly trust a species capable of such extremes?" Grant's expression softened slightly. "Trust is essential in any partnership. Humanity seeks allies, not subjects. We choose cooperation over conflict whenever possible. But we also understand that, to ensure peace, we must sometimes be prepared for war. That balance is not a weakness, it is our greatest strength." As her words settled over the chamber, many counselors fell into contemplation. They'd previously dismissed humanity's complexity as a paradox or as evidence of inner turmoil. Now, they began to see it as a calculated choice, a capability humanity had honed to perfection. For the first time, some of them saw humanity not as a species to be directed but as one to be respected, or perhaps even feared. One counselor leaned forward, curiosity tempered by caution. "If you're as adaptable as you say, then what role do you foresee humanity playing in the consortium?" "We are here to strengthen it," Grant replied simply. "To bring what we can to this alliance. Our diversity of thought, our resilience, our willingness to adapt, these are not threats. They are the strengths of a partner who values peace yet does not fear to defend it. Together, we are stronger. But that strength requires understanding and respect on all sides." Grant's steady confidence was undeniable, and many counselors sensed the unspoken challenge within her words. If they were willing to treat humanity as equals, humanity would stand beside them. But if they sought to control or dismiss humans, they might find themselves faced with the fierce resistance they'd only glimpsed today. As her final words settled, a few counselors, those who had been wary before, now looked at her with a new gleam in their eyes, one that hinted at respect and even a hint of admiration. Some rose from their seats and approached, voices low but tinged with an eagerness that hadn't been there before. One counselor extended a delicate hand. "I would welcome an alliance with humanity, Ambassador Grant. Your strength and adaptability would serve the consortium well." Another counselor, who had previously spoken only of humanity's limitations, stepped forward with a thoughtful nod. "There is a balance in your people. I believe the consortium could learn much from it." Grant inclined her head, accepting their gestures of partnership with a reserved smile. She had planted the seeds of trust, but she knew this would not be the last time humanity's place would be questioned. That was fine. Humanity would adapt, as it always had. But today, a line had been drawn, and understanding established. As she turned to leave, her footsteps echoing in the vast, silent chamber, the counselors remained, deep in thought. For them, this meeting would be the beginning of a new understanding, and perhaps, a redefined alliance with the species they had once considered outsiders. Now, they recognized humanity for what it truly was, a species tempered by the harsh realities of a death world, capable of restraint, but always prepared for survival. Outside the chamber doors, Grant allowed herself a quiet smile, a subtle acknowledgement of what they'd accomplished. Humanity had revealed its strength not as a threat but as a declaration. They were here to stay, and they would be respected, not feared, not underestimated, but recognized for what they brought to the table. And as she disappeared from sight, her presence remained with the council, lingering like a shadow of something both familiar and unknown. They understood now that they were witnessing only the beginning of humanity's place among the stars, and perhaps, the consortium would never quite be the same.